Innsmouth, stranger.
Greetings, travellers, and welcome to episode 110 of the Innsmouth Book Club podcast. As you can see, we've once again brought you to the fading splendour of the Gilman House Hotel, because again today we're going to be joined by an esteemed guest. I'm one of your hosts, Tim Mendes.
And I'm the other one, Rob Poyton. Yes, we should be tripping up the stairs in a moment, but a couple of news items first of all. I hear there's a new novelette in the pipeline, sir?
Yes, well, it's been done, it's off, it's been proofed, it's in the thing. Basically, it's going to be part of the book of Shub-Nagorath, which is coming out very imminently, I believe. It's part of the ongoing series. I was in the last one as well, the Book of Hastur, and that seems to have gone down really, really well. So, yeah, fingers crossed on this one as well. It was a joy to write. It's another one of my Eugene Angove stories. So,
nice
lots
one.
of chaps in tweed solving eldritch mysteries while drinking lots of brandy.
Can't go wrong with that, can you?
No, exactly.
Regular listeners may remember that I've had some Facebook issues lately. Well, without going into all that again, I am back on Facebook now. If you get a friend request from Bob Innsmouth, that's me. I'm under an assumed name. So keep an eye out for that. And I'd just like to say, actually, thanks to everyone, because as I mentioned, we were just really starting the ILF promotion when all that happened. I'd like to thank everyone who helped spread the message and shared posts and all that kind of thing. So it was really nice to see the Innsmouth community doing something good for a change.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, because I kind of panicked and sort of went on the group and said, oh, help. And people did. So, yeah, cheers for that.
And speaking of the ILF, of course, one of the things we're having there, we've got some gaming going on. And my skirmish game, We Want the Gold, it looks very much as though that'll all be ready in time for a play there. We're just up to first proof on the rules now. We've got some incredible artwork, thanks to my wife. It's a really nice layout. I have decided at the last minute to totally rewrite the magic rules, but that's a minor blip.
Standard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the usual thing. You know, you look through it, actually, you know.
Yeah.
We have had another play test as well, our third play test. I'll put a link up to that in the show notes below. That's up on the Dragon's Teeth gaming channel, and it's called the Innsmouth Showdown. So you get a little sneaky peek of what tabletop Innsmouth is going to look like.
And yeah, before we move on, people who are online may have seen we have the brand spanking, swanky new Innsmouth Literary Festival t-shirt. I had to get it in, yeah. It's become a thing now. Like, yes, Tobias Nielsen actually commented when you posted it up the other day, didn't he? Swanky.
I noticed that. I feel like next year I'll have to have swanky across the back or something, maybe.
Yeah, just make sure you don't miss the S. Yeah, so they're available to pre-order now, and you can collect them at the Innsmouth Literary Festival. To do that, go on innsmouthgold.com.
Lovely. Okay, let's head on upstairs to room 428 to meet today's special guest. And here we are. It's a big Innsmouth welcome to Helena Nash. Hi, Helena.
Hello, Tim, and hello. Are you now Bob? Do we now call you Bob for
Well, funnily enough, no one ever calls me Bob in real life.
Hello.
Or Bobby, even worse.
Wee Bobby.
Wee Bobby. Aye.
Wee Bobby. I think I like to think I was the first person to spot the resurrection, the spawning of Bob Innsmouth on Facebook. I was very quick to spot that, and with keen detective instinct, so I figured out who that was. I don't know, don't know how.
There you go. So it's good investigation skills.
Whereas mine are terrible, because I got a friend's request from Bob Innsmouth and did what I always do and tried to and like go, I better check who this is.
Yeah, right. Who's this
and it came up and I was like, oh, it's bloody Rob. It took far too long before the penny dropped.
I definitely do that thing where I dive down, look at the mutual friends, go, all right, like as I did with Tim about 35 minutes ago, in fact.
Indeed.
They go, oh, hello, yeah. Anyway, thanks for letting me in. It's what's the breakfast like actually at the Gilman? Have you ever stayed?
we've never actually stayed. It's the guests stay over. We just pop in to visit. You see,
Right.
So I take
right.
it this is your first visit then, the first time in Innsmouth.
First visit to Innsmouth, although I feel like spiritually I have been to similar locations. As a kid, our holiday destination of choice, not my choice, was the Isle of Wight. So it's very.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we used to go.
I was there fairly recently. Yeah.
Oh, right. Because you're right. You're South Coast, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyone who grows up, I think, in the southeast of England, it's likely to be. A destination, and Mum and Dad would drive us there, get the ferry overnight, get up really early, and we'd end up on a campsite on the southeast coast of the Isle of Wight, which was built on the cliffs.
Yep.
And if you know anything about the Isle of Wight, it's that the cliffs don't stay there for very long. They are falling into the sea, and we'd go back every year. And, is the campsite there? Is the glade still there? The road one year just ended sticking out into the open air, into the sea, because it had fallen down. And the guy who ran the place bulldozed a rough wooden track in the side of the hill that would get you from A to B, from the road past the bit that disappeared into the rocks and oblivion below to the campsite. It was quite a thing. One year, I said, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do it. So we went to this hotel in Ventnor. Ventnor's the south part, right?
Oh, yeah. That's where we were. We went just outside of Ventnor.
Okay, so you know the area, Tim, and you know that there was this hotel. It was on a little road that was called Alma Road, Hotel Pelham, and I would say the gradient was about 43 degrees. 43 degrees.
Mental. Yeah, those winding roads, they're insane.
Insane. And so there we were. Yeah, you're on the edge of the world if Hampshire and the Solent is your world. Not knowing whether you're going to fall into the sea from one day to the next. And Isle of Wight's, there's a little bit of an literally insular community, right? They claim they've got their own environment, don't they? Their microclimate. I don't know if that means it's more more moist and suitable for their batrachian genes or not.
That's a common trait amongst Innsmouthian places, is the moistness, as you can see from the moisture running down the walls here.
Yeah. It's actually, I find it. It's quite comforting. I just. It's quite tactile. Yeah. I'm enjoying that.
Indoor water feature.
Did you ever go to Black Gang Chine and all that stuff?
Right. So that was a little test. Did you know about it? Yes, absolutely. My favourite place in the world, I would say. As a kid, Disney World was a distant myth, right? And you had Chessington World of Adventures and stuff like that. If you were lucky, a zoo, with some poor, sad tigers in something the size of a backyard swimming pool. Black Gang Chine, awesome. For those of you that don't know, what is it? I mean, I'm not sure a theme park really counts.
No.
A curious cliffside entertainment area. What have we got? Ornamental gardens going down the chine, which is a great word, right? Yeah. Enormous dinosaurs, which feature big fiberglass things that appeared on Blue Peter.
And I've got a story about them in a
minute. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, all of that. The bit I was scared of, they had an aquarium in the shape of a whale, and it looked like the whale from Pinocchio. Is it called Monstro?
Right.
And you had to walk through the mouth of the whale into the aquarium.
Yes.
I think it was terrifying. It was jet black, teeth, mad eyes. I was terrified. And, of course, you'd walk through, so you emerged out of the whale's arse. I don't know. That's not how Pinocchio got out, was it?
It's a metaphor for life, I think.
I think it is. Yeah.
So, what's the Black Gang story then, Tim?
Well, because where we were staying was not far from it. We were staying in this place called the Enchanted Hotel, which was like down in the middle of nowhere, like down by the beach.
Right.
And we climbed up the cliff to get to the road to the bus stop.
Yeah.
And to get to the bus stop, we had to walk across via Black Dean Chine, like across the top. And I didn't realise where we were, and we came out of this path and walked out, and there's a velociraptor stood in the trees. I pretty much had a coronary. It's like,
I like to imagine you wearing a pith helmet and carrying an elephant gun.
yeah, exactly. This is it. Like shooting up into the trees,
You barely get out a clever girl before you go.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
The other thing on the Isle of Wight was it the Braiding Wax Museum? Did you ever go there?
Osborne Smith's Wax Museum in Braiding.
That was terrifying.
Terrifying. Wait, yeah. Do you remember? I've still got a postcard. There were two scary scenarios. I mean, it was Wax Museums aren't supposed to, but I think they did lean into the horrors bit. There was two. There was one where a guy had been murdered in the tableau. Picture this. They're all behind glass screens, if you've never been there. And you press a big old plastic button and it lights up and you might get better sound. One is a murdered body on a bed and it looks kind of Georgian. It's 18th, 19th century. Knife sticking out of their chest and there's a hand closing a door or a wardrobe, and in my mind, to my child's memory, there's one glowing eye. I always had a thing about glowing eyes, terrified by glowing eyes. And the other exhibit that I remember was it's a skeleton playing an organ, and it's playing Bach's Toccata and Fugue, D minor.
Was that your inspiration, Rob?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant.
But you don't see the face; you see the back of the playing.
Yeah.
And then a light comes on in the mirror above the organ, and you see the skull.
That's cool.
Yeah,
absolutely loved it. And that's why in later years when we stayed up late and we'd watch things like Dr. Phibes playing his organ, and things like that. It just I'm not sort of predisposed, but I'd already been scraped raw and I was receptive to the horror. I think,
The one thing I was disappointed about my last visit to the Isle of Wight is the Naughty Postcard Museum isn't there anymore.
Oh, no.
It's shut down. That was the main reason I wanted to go. I wanted to take Linda to the Naughty Postcard Museum.
That's your spiritual home, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
So was all this kind of thing, I guess, as it was with most of us, your introduction to the world of horror and weird fiction and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. What are the other? Yeah, definitely going to Black Gang Chine, going to Osborne Smith's, generally being terrorised, driving along cliff-top paths in the night. Other things would be just weird stuff. As kids, we had the Puffin Club, which was if you recall it, a certain age.
I know.
The Puffin Club. So there we were. We in junior school. And what was it? Once every month, once a fortnight, a little booklet comes round at school, and the teacher says, "All right, kids, pick out the books you want." They were all tiddly little paperbacks, and they were Puffin or other type things. And you would, because we were kids, herd mentality. Everybody got the same thing. Everybody got, Nicholas Fisk books like Trillions or Grinny or one of those slightly odd ones, or they all got Olga to Polga, the talking hamster. But there was one I got called Monsters at the Movies. It was a tiny little paperback. I was going to bring it along today, but I forgot to bring it. Tiny paperback book. Essentially, it was an A to Z of movie monsters. Bear in mind, this was written in about 75. And every page would be black and white still on one side of a monster. On the right-hand side, a little bit of a write-up about it, and maybe a little bit at the bottom that said, Boris Karloff is playing the Frankenstein monster. Or, the Alligator Men, first seen in 1955. But I never read all those bits. I was just utterly shocked and terrified by the left-hand side of this book, which were close-up stills of Karloff as Frankenstein. I think it had the reptile from the Hammer films, big bug-eyed. I mean, the fact that I think that was actually lovely Jacqueline Pierce under a ton of snake makeup. Which is like quite a disjoint in my head. Pictures of the beast men from the island of Dr. Moreau, and the one picture that scared me so much, my mum took the book away and threw it away. was the entry on Z, because it was kind of an A to Z, and it was a close-up of one of the zombies from Hammer's Plague of the Zombies.
Was it the one that comes out of the tin mine?
It's the one that comes out of the tin mine.
Oh, that's classic zombie makeup right there. Yeah,
he's got he's got those pinprick eyes. Amazing. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he titters. I think he giggles or laughs.
There's a kind of giggle to it.
and
Yeah.
it just freaks me out. And I was so scared. Yeah, she threw the book away. And it took me years. The advent of the internet plus eBay. I was trying to get it back. I wanted to get back the horrors that had been thrown away. And I spent quite a long time Googling horror monsters kids book and, getting 78 matches. And eventually I found it. And I found it just by persistence and recognizing the cover. And it was written by Dennis Gifford, who's quite a legend, right? He's the guy who wrote big coffee table sized books about movies and horror and books about comics. And comics is my other thing. As Rob, first time I met you, Rob, was me buying an old Conan magazine off.
Yes, you did. Yes.
So yeah, comics, horror comics, Conan particularly. I was going to mention Red Nails, one of my favourite Conan stories, particularly the graphic novel, the comic. I'm not pretentious. It's a comic. Big treasury-sized 1970s colour drawings by Barry Windsor Smith of Conan and Valeria stalking around a massive, near-deserted, sealed-in city in the middle of the desert with two warring, degenerate tribes, families, clans at either end of this enclosed city, plus spooks that live underground coming up to get them. And wow. Yeah, it's my absolute favourite Conan story. And the vividness of it is quite something else, I think.
It was the last one he ever wrote as well. It was the last Conan story that Howard wrote.
Was it? Ah.
Yeah. I mean, talk about go out on a high. Yeah, and also based on all the feuds, because he was Texan, the family feuds and all that kind of stuff.
Hatfields and McCoys and all that.
Yeah, it's an incredible story, and that is one of the best graphic adaptations of anything. I think that.
I absolutely love it. I think they always talk about going to do an adaptation, and I think there was almost a animated version with Ron Perlman or something doing the voice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, a few years back.
I don't know if it actually worked, but I absolutely love it. Sort of jumping ahead a little bit, when I got commissioned to write an adventure for a Conan role-playing game, the story I first pitched was a prequel to Red Nails.
Oh, nice.
And it takes place about 20, 30 years beforehand, because it's one of those unusual, I'm not sure all Conan stories like this. It's got a rich background. That city of Zucotl. Yeah. I mean, Conan, a bit like Doctor Who, right? He emerges into an ongoing situation and stuff unravels. But it's got a rich background of people invading a city, killing the previous inhabitants, descending as they do into degeneracy and decadence. I mean, Howard did it several times, right? Was it Zuthal of the Dust, I think, is the other one.
That was almost like a prototype Red Nails,
right?
I think.
Yeah, only that one had like a giant frog lizard
in it. Yeah.
Nice.
yeah. I absolutely loved it. And yes, I wrote a kind of a prequel. We had to change it a little bit because they didn't want stuff set in the past. It's Conan, but they didn't want it set as a prequel. They wanted players to be able to jump in and play anything. So you couldn't do, this is when you meet Conan as a kid, or this is when you meet Valeria before she meets Conan. It had to be playable anywhere. So I had to kind of reskin it a little bit and make it a different place with different names. But in my mind, I still know that it's the fateful events that lead up to Red Nails in my mind. Yeah. That's Conan canon. Conan. Conan.
There is the prequel. It's been out a while now as well. The paperback. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I did review it a little while ago.
Blood of the Serpent, is it? Or is that another one?
That rings a bell. Yeah, it's when Valeria fleeing and Conan following her and the various things that happen.
I think it's the SM Sterling one, and if it is the one, I'm about 3 chapters through it at the moment, and yeah, it's Conan and Valeria and Stygians and the like. So yeah, there's lots to look forward to. Then love all that stuff. Love it.
So you mentioned game writers there. I've got a little list of some of the systems you've written for. Pendragon.
Oh, yep.
Rivers of London, RuneQuest, Dune, Conan. You mentioned. Yep. Call of Cthulhu, 7TV.
Yes.
And I was delighted, and I didn't know about this. A Robert Rankin based RPG.
Oh, nice.
Right, Robert, right? So.
Yeah.
Robert Rankin, he of the Brentford trilogy.
I went round his house.
Right.
He lives in Brighton.
Amazing house. I went to the pre-move one. The amazing house full of his artwork and his artifacts, right?
Did you meet the tortoise?
Yes. Actually, we had our black hound with us, or our black mini poodle anyway. So we had to keep him and the interesting moving rock apart. Otherwise,
Yeah.
bad things could have happened. So what happened with Robert Rankin was years and years and years and years ago. It must have been, I don't know, 2003, something like that. My wife, Maisie, really into Robert Rankin stuff, and Discworld, these things always Pratchett, Rankin, Douglas Adams, right? There's like a little kind of British pantheon of that stuff.
Yeah.
And she was so into it, I thought, well, look, I'll write a little role-playing game. I've written little when you say you write a role-playing game, you knock up a system and you run it for your mates, or more just likely, don't run it for anyone, but leave it to one side, stapled together. And yeah, I made up a Brentford, the role playing game, and I made stats for all the characters, the strange eccentrics in the borough of Brentford, and I came up with suitable adventures. And again, I'm trying to think of some of the titles of one of them. One of them was Q, the Winged Serpent, and it all took place in Kew Gardens. And I can't remember. There was one to do, Haricots of the Gods. Haricots of the Gods.
Nice.
Again, if you know about Robert Rankin, there'll be time traveling sprouts, Barry the Sprout, etc. So Haricots of the Gods. Again, as I was saying to you before we went live, I do like a pun. Anyway, yeah, so I wrote it for a birthday. I went on a fact-finding mission to take photographs of important locations in the borough of Brentford, such as a park bench, some allotments, gasworks, all these things. It involved me climbing over fences into allotments on off hours. Don't tell them. Then we went to a Robert Rankin convention. He's a lovely guy, as I'm sure you know, and he was tickled pink that I'd made up a role-playing game. So he gave me his endorsement, and it was then redubbed the now official Robert Rankin Brentford role-playing game. So that was the first thing that was in any way published or circulated amongst friends. Right. It gave me a little bit of a boost. But it was 7TV for Crooked Dice. That was where I did the majority of my early game writing. I say early, already in my 30s and 40s. But my good friend Carl set up his own games company, Crooked Dice, essentially to do models of cult TV figures and a war game system to go with them. And I think, Rob, you're sort of familiar with a lot of their stuff.
I have a number of their figures currently on my painting bench. Yes.
Right, because one of the things they over the years they've done sets. They did, like, the original one is a Spy-Fi set. It's James Bond. It's Man from U.N.C.L.E. Space 1999. It's that. Then they've done a load of collaborations with a university up in Northwest in Ormskirk, Edge Hill University. So every year they would do a massive box set in conjunction with the students and English department there. And one of them was Pulp, and from that they've done some Lovecraftian stuff, most amazing sets and figures. I don't have anything to do with it, but I've just absolutely loved their stuff. I got involved with things like they did 7TV Apocalypse, which was one of the things, because everybody kept saying, "Oh, I want to do Mad Max, I want to do Walking Dead, I want to do." And the thing about 7TV is that we'd always do homages, or things that if you squint and look sideways, you think, "Oh yeah, that's a bit like this guy, it's a bit like that guy." I've brought a visual aid for the benefit of the three of us, so as you didn't see. Again, I can't take much credit for the presentation, the books or anything, but it's a dirty, great big tabletop skirmish game. And what my job was to come up with separate settings. So it's all about enabling players to mix and match whatever they want with a cinematic TV feel to it.
Right.
So we came up with a bunch of broad settings for apocalypses. So I came up with a one called Radland Racers, which is if you take wacky races and set it in Judge Dredd's Cursed Earth.
Brilliant.
A lot of them feel like no-brainers. I came up with one that I thought it felt very early 90s to 2000s serial TV called Highway to Hell. Couple of people tracking across America and I don't know where I got these ideas from, but the president turns out to be like the spawn of Satan. Anyway, Anyway,
We were talking about life imitating art.
I know.
right? I was saying there was not a blueprint for reality, people. So it's a little bit supernatural, but it's also a little bit highway to heaven. So essentially, you've got an angel and a priest going across America, and they get mixed up with stuff. But my absolute favorite setting was a very British kind of setting, and I'm thinking about things like Day of the Triffids, Survivors. So I came up with a 70s setting where vegetable creatures had taken over, well, the world, but you don't know about that. It's just Britain or whatever locations that we could film. Because again, the artifice, the concept of 7TV is that it's a slightly cheap TV channel from the 70s and 80s. And, we make up pretend TV listings, and we imagine that, who would have been in this? What role would there have been for Sir Michael Hordern? So my absolute favourite was one called Planet of the Fungoids. I didn't come up with the title. But it's Britain after vegetable creatures have taken over the landscape, and the entire cast are taken from British 70s sitcoms, and I was immersed in Walking Dead at the time, and I was thinking, if it was the 70s and there was a fight for survival, what self-sufficient man would I want to lead my survival group?
There's only one answer.
There's only one. There he is. So it had to be Tom Good. So I made up a little survival group of Tom Good. And we don't call him Tom Good, but, there's Tom. Sadly, Barbara doesn't make it past the pilot episode because you always need to kill someone off, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel I might have fridged her, if you're familiar with the term. But he does get saddled with Margot from next door. So yeah.
I'll be honest, looking back on that, I always thought there was a sort of hint of that stuff going on.
Oh yeah, come the weekend. The car keys would get. Well, they didn't.
I was going to say I got the keys in the ashtray feel from that.
Yeah, and presumably it was the keys to the lawnmower from Tom and Barbara, right?
Yeah.
I imagine that would happen. So yeah, I'm not a massive fan of the word mashup because it seems to sort of like devalue, but I like hybrid stuff. I like this meets that. And that's where I'm at with a lot of my kind of love of. I like the collision between well-loved familiar things and horror. So That's what I've been doing. I've been doing a bit of writing recently, just for my own entertainment, but possibly to see print in an anthology associated with Scarred for Life. If you're familiar with Scarred for Life.
I wanted to mention Scarred for Life because this is something that I actually got a Christmas or two ago. This is Scarred for Life, Volume 1, the 1970s. Be required reading for people of a certain age because it just goes through everything.
It's chunky though, isn't it, Rob?
But it's the sort of thing you can dip in and out of,
Absolutely. It's a bathroom book, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I picked that up as well a few years ago. And then I saw that the two guys who wrote it, Stephen and Dave, were doing a talk in the Fens. We went off to a Fenland. There's an event called Fear in the Fens every year. I've been there a few times. Yeah. And they got the Scarred for Life guys to come down and do their, I think it was their very first stage show where they presented the terrible things that we children watched in the 70s that parents either shouldn't have allowed us to watch or made us watch.
Yes.
Like public information.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Insane, right? Absolutely insane. And you're right. The research in that book is extraordinary. They don't just do a quick talking head. Hey, do you remember, whatever it is, Space Operas and Frank Spencer? You'll get 2 pages of the making of each different public information film, or Doomwatch, or Dracula Ice Lollies, all sorts of things.
It goes through all that stuff as well. Yeah. The dinky toys, everything.
All of that. Yeah, I can. And it's so great because it's stuff I'd forgotten about or partly remembered and thought I was the only one that freaked out about it. And just to get several pages talking about Salem's Lot or whatever. Yeah, or Tomorrow People.
Tomorrow People.
My mum stopped us. My mum sounds like a terrible person, right? But there was a couple of things she stopped me reading Monsters at the Movies because I was scared of the zombie. And we watched Tomorrow People. There's an episode. Oh God, I can't remember the name of it. It's the one when the girl jumps out of a window and explodes.
Yes.
That one. And she saw that. I said, you're not watching that. I mean, as if it was scandalous enough watching ITV. It should be over watching a nice nice, safe B, watching John Noakes half kill himself down the crest to run, because that's not traumatic.
Climbing up Nelson's column, I remember that. That was
that's terrifying. I actually watched that Nelson's column cleaning bit a few weeks ago. My legs went all funny. Yeah, a lot of great traumatic stuff in Scarred for Life. The second 2 volumes are equally awesome, and I had a tiny little bit to contribute to those.
Oh, nice.
In the second one, set in the 80s, I wrote a little bit about. Do you recall that we used to see shows on British TV which would have members of the public doing stunts until things went badly wrong?
Was that the one? There was a helicopter crash or something at one point.
Yes.
Was that the one? Or was that
There was also the helicopter. I don't know. If you want to talk about real life helicopter crashes that affect things, it was the making of the Twilight Zone movie. Right. Which was Vic, Christ, what's his name? Vic. The actor and 2 kids were killed in the making of the Twilight Zone movie.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Noel Edmonds' late breakfast show.
Noel Edmonds, that was the one, yeah.
For several seasons, they would get members of the public who would volunteer. I want to be in a thing. And it would be something like stock car, jumping cars over ramps. And these were not trained stunt drivers or professional banger drivers. They were people who thought, I'd have a go. It's Dave from the Tube. Again, you go online. In that first series, the outside reporter isn't Mike Smith. It's John Peel, if you can believe that. It's John Peel. And he stood by the side of this this line of cars. If you recall, you would jump a car, overload a bashed up cars. The car doesn't make it all the way to the end. It comes off and everyone's just stood by it. But the most notorious one was the one when the guy was practicing to do a high dive on a bungee off of a tall cherry picker. They hadn't checked it. The bolts weren't fixed. Plunged to his death.
Wow.
And they pulled it. But there was that. There was Paul Daniels doing the Iron Maiden escape routine, which, inverted commas for the tape, goes wrong. And they just stopped the program. And it says, and coming up next, match of the day. And you've literally just seen an Iron Maiden with spikes close on Paul Daniels.
Yes, yeah.
And Debbie McGee is left standing there in the studio.
Yeah.
And you hear this, there's a voiceover from the studio manager. It says, ladies and gentlemen, if you could all leave the set now, please. And that's it. And of course, you couldn't go online. It was pre-internet. You couldn't go online and say, Jesus, I've just seen Paul Daniels impaled on telly. And it's only if you happen to, got the paper the next day. Outrage as, Daniels' fake escape upsets people. So there was those 2 things. And there was a couple of other things, plus spoof stuff clever things like Ghostwatch.
Oh, Ghostwatch, yeah, that caused some problems, didn't it, as well?
End of the 80s, early 90s, there was like 1, 2, 3. There was stunts going wrong. There was magic tricks terrifying people. Ghostwatch. And then by the time we got to 1990, all that stuff was off the air. And it's why Steve Brotherston and Dave Lawrence really say Ghostwatch signals the end of the Scarred for Life era, because at least on British culture, British TV, they go very safe for another 10 years. You'll not see anything spooky. So those things really stick in my mind. So obviously, we cover those. We cover those in the Scarred for Life books. And I also write a lot about Marvel Comics, because the 80s was a great era for comics generally. Watchmen, Dark Knight, and just a whole bunch of other comics that were suddenly pushing the boundaries and killing off your favourite heroes and just generally traumatizing you. So if you've got a spare couple of years to read all of the Scarred for Life.
Who was that he was actually a horror magician, Simon something?
Simon Drake. Yes.
That's it.
Simon Drake. I'm doing hand motions because he did that.
Yeah, that's
right.
It.
So Simon Drake had a Channel 4 show called The Secret Cabaret, which was awesome. And it would be like a cabaret show. He was the host, and very suave guy, would do great magic tricks, but he'd have people on it like the Amazing Jonathan. You ever saw the Amazing Jonathan?
Yeah, great, with the seagull on his head and all that.
Right,
stuff.
and he always came across like he was a Vietnam vet, and he had a wild-eyed look. Great guy. I saw him live in Edinburgh a few times. Absolutely great. But I remember seeing him doing a stunt in Edinburgh for the Fringe, which it is now at time of recording. And he'd rigged up a little scene along Edinburgh's, not the Royal Mile, on Princes Street, which, if you know Edinburgh, there are rails all the way along one side, spiky rails, before you get into the Norlock Park. And he'd apparently impaled his face on it with a spike sticking out of his mouth. You'd see all of that stuff on Secret Cabaret, plus maybe some outre music acts, some comedy. And I don't know if he still owns it, but Simon Drake has had a kind of a secret magic venue down in South London, which is an old pub that's been converted into a performance area, venue, and magic museum.
Nice.
And occasionally they'd have events there, and it was great to walk around. He's got lots of old posters, lots of stage magic ephemera in there with that kind of slightly, lurid Grand Guignol decor everywhere, which is great. I love it.
This seems to be a common theme from the 70s through this. I wonder if it's associated in some way with now we've got the shift into the digital age with CGI. You can watch anything. We watched the Doctor Strange film, well, it'll be a little while back now. In a way, we should have loved it. It's got tentacles, it's got interdimensional this and that. But we kind of sat there going, oh, yeah, what you just mentioned there, I can picture that. Amazing Jonathan with a spike through his cheek screaming.
Yeah.
It just...
Because there's always that thought, shit, has it actually... so here's the other guy. I mentioned this, and I won't keep going on about stage magicians. Hans Moretti. Now, he wasn't a stage magician, but if you ever watched the Paul Daniels magic show, he would get guest performers on from around the world. Hans Moretti was a shaven-headed, mustachioed man. He looked like a Victorian strongman. So imagine this. His wife, I can't remember her name. They were even though his name was Moretti, I think they were German or Swedish. German, maybe. He would do death-defying acts, and it would be very much blindfold, crossbow, being shot at heads.
Yes, I do remember him. Yeah, that was nerve-wracking stuff, man. That really was.
Thinking back of it over the years, there's an element of illusion, but there's an element of very real danger. Stuff can definitely go wrong. Things are definitely being projected at other people's heads. You're seeing it on telly. Yeah, he looked insane. I remember distinctly he would get a lipstick out and he would draw the target like a bindi in the center of his forehead. And I'm sure he or his wife fires a crossbow over their shoulder at the other one whilst they are standing in front of a target. And that was peak BBC entertainment. You'd watch Nationwide, repeat a porridge, and then possibly watch a man shoot his wife in the head whilst not looking.
I remember being on holiday with my mum and dad, and one of the acts, because you always had turns in the evening, it was knife throwing.
Yeah, yeah.
The wife in the outfit is against the guy, and I think there's an over the shoulder or a blindfold one or something like that.
There's always that frisson. It could go wrong this time. CG, don't care, but it could go wrong.
Something visceral about it, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. More so, particularly if you see stuff live. If you've been to see Circus of Horrors, any of those, like Jim Rose Circus, all of those things.
Jim Rose Circus, yeah.
Great stuff. I remember we saw them in Edinburgh, and they have a maniac running around with a chainsaw. And I think he's your boiler suit and a hockey mask, Jason Voorhees style. And this thing's roaring around, and they've thrown water over it, so there's spray coming off it as they're running up and down the aisles of this church or theatre that they've taken over. And they're going, Jesus, this, it might not be real, but it's real enough.
But it's real enough.
It's real enough. Yeah.
And yet we still have now, I noticed it more and more, Halloween's becoming a bigger and bigger thing, I think, in the UK. And, and so it should. We're in pre-Halloween at the moment. Lara calls it Summerween. We're in it at the moment.
Lovely.
I've seen that name around a few places now. It seems to be becoming a thing, and I'm all for it, man. Although, to be fair, it's Halloween 365 days a year round in where I live. So.
Absolutely. But there's an increase in these haunted house things and all that sort of stuff. You go through and people jump out at you dressed as zombies.
Yeah, one of my mates is one of the actors.
Yeah, still seems to be that need for that.
Always loved an immersive, spooky experience. I say love. Obviously, I'm actually scared. I'm very much a behind the sofa generation kid. But any interactive, spooky stuff, my wife will definitely be up for it. And I'll be next to her slightly tensed. Shows when you don't know when they're over. Shows when you don't know if it's real now or not. When they go, oh, no, sorry, this bit's, we're just the actors now. And then something jumps out, Any of that. And that all goes back to me watching something like American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
the nightmare sequence in American Werewolf in London. Oh, he's had a terrible dream, but it's over now. Oh no.
No, this is still in the dream.
No,
Yeah.
no, David, you're still in the dream, and that you're now getting attacked by Nazi werewolves. So terrifying. Yeah. Thoroughly scarred for childhood from all of those things.
There was something I went on years and years ago, going back a long way here. I can't remember exactly where it was. It may have been the Granada Studios up in Manchester. The Granada Studios tour thing.
Yeah.
It was one of the first like immersive cinema things, right?
They did an alien thing there, didn't they?
Yeah, because you had like the jets, like for air and stuff like that behind where you seat, and the seats move and all this, and it was terrifying. But then they did that thing you were just talking about, of you think it's over, and then all the seats just sort of crumple and go down like the gantry's done, and the thing starts going again. And it's just like, oh, it was absolutely masterful.
Nice.
Did either of you ever go to the Trocadero in London around about 2000, where they had an interactive experience called Alien War?
I vaguely remember that. I certainly remember the Trocadero.
Don't know that one.
Right, Trocadero went through a number of incarnations, but back around about late 90s, 2000, the basement level of the Trocadero in London, just off Shaftesbury Avenue, was turned over to something called Alien War. There's a couple of great documentaries about it, which I thoroughly suggest you watch. Some British guys, I think they're British, they were Scottish, I think they were Scots. They got the license to make an interactive experience. It's not a ride, based on aliens, not Alien, but Aliens, which is my absolute favourite, right? And they kitted out a small area to look like multiple rooms in a space station that had been experimenting with some interesting xenomorphic material. And you're let in 6 to 8 people at a time. You're led around by a Marine, and they've got all the actual kit that they'd got from the movies, the pulse rifle and
nice.
the Butch shoulder pads. And then after about 3 minutes, stuff goes tits up, and there's yellow emergency lights and warning, containment breach, xenomorphs loose. And then the Marine has to lead us civilians through a twisting series of it looked like the industrial zone on Crystal Maze.
Brilliant.
Right?
Yeah.
Up and lots of industrial metal, lots of pipes, lots of dry ice, and gantries, clank, clanking everywhere, with aliens jumping out on us. Some were actors, some were things that were rigged down. There was a great fake out when we jump into the lift to go up to the next level to get out. The doors open. We're all crammed in the lift. The lights go out. The doors open. Woman at the front of the door gets grabbed by a big spiky alien hand on top of her head, wrenches her out. The doors close, and we all just lose it.
Brilliant.
And then we realise, wait a minute, who was that woman? She didn't come in with us.
She wasn't one of us.
Brilliant, absolute brilliant management. It was superb, and that's it was all practical. I mean, VR stuff's cool, but we all come out that panting for breath. There's a great interactive zombie thing called Generation Z. It's a Kiwi, New Zealand drama group, and they go around the place. They'll take over something like an old office block, a post office, turn it into a temporary medical base during the zombie apocalypse, and again do a similar thing. Lead us civilians around, look out for the person who's not a Triffid. That would be awesome. But a member of the audience who's not a member of the audience, who perhaps has got. They keep covering up their arm.
Yes.
Keep covering up
squibs.
Excuse me. Can you just show us? If you no, sorry. I just scratched myself. There's no need.
I always had an idea, a bit of a pipe dream back in at that time, to do like a paintball cross with zombies. Where you set it up as a normal paintball game, but then during the briefing at the start, a zombie comes crashing in, kind of thing, and you go from there. But obviously, resources, time, money, those sort of humdrum considerations get in the way.
You just got to think about the poor people playing the zombies. So it's like, they will be black and blue.
That adds to the effect.
Absolutely. Well, I've monstered a few times for LARPs. And being on the receiving end, particularly when you're being a slow-moving monster, so that the players can whack you with the replica weapons. I was well padded up, thank God. But I spent a lot of time hunched down in a hole in Chislehurst Caves waiting for the players to get round to me, getting cramp in my legs, probably catching some pneumonic disease down there, and waiting for the sweet relief of 6 people with latex swords battering 7 gates out of me.
It's good to have life goals, isn't it?
Good times. Yeah. Absolutely.
Hardest game in the world. 20 years as a troll. Man and woman.
Small boys in the park. Yeah.
So do you think that relates then to why RPGs, well, they're not just popular, they're increasingly popular. I know we've had Stranger Things with D&D and everything else. Every sort of iteration of RPGs and LARPing and all these sort of things just seem to be on the up and up.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I'd love to sort of read or watch a documentary about the second coming of RPGs, because it's an odd thing, isn't it? It almost passed me by. I'm, play a little bit of gaming these days, but I think like a lot of us, as time goes by, your friends group moves away, and it does a number on your regular gaming night. And then people were talking about things and I didn't know what they were talking about. They would say Critical Role. I went, actual play. I don't know, wasn't that plugged into it. I don't know what Stranger Things definitely was a factor. I think literally from a mechanistic point of view, I think the playability of D&D 5th Ed probably is a factor, because some role-playing games are ferociously complicated.
I'm in a Rolemaster campaign at the moment, and I've just about got my head around the combat now, but the levels and oh man.
Oh, yes.
Well, Rollemasters, I'm not going to say notorious, infamous for things like critical hits, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Which is just, an arrow passes through both ears, taking your brain with it. Back in the day, we played a Middle Earth game, which was based on the Rolemaster system, and I think my dwarf got his face shot off. I didn't even know that was a thing. He got his face shot off, and was still a functioning character. I think I had to take like minus 50 appearance, but yeah.
Some sort of mask, perhaps.
I absolutely went the mask route thereafter. I used all my mithril to make a mask. Like many a game, I don't think we ever played it again. That is such is the nature of the tabletop role-playing game. I love it that it's popular. I think that's great. I don't love that I have to keep saying tabletop in front of role-playing to tell people what I do, because to differentiate it from, Resident Evil or whatever. No disrespect to them, but, we were here first. But I love it that it's still a thing. It's it's a smallish part of gaming as opposed to console games, which is massive. But it's nice to be part of it, doing little bits and bobs. I mean, I really enjoyed, I've done a lot of little bits. Like I did a bit of Dune, did a bit of Conan, a bit of RuneQuest. I've largely worked with 1 or 2 companies like Modifius, they're the sort of company that does a lot of the licensed games, which is great, because I've written a few games for stuff that I know about. I knew Conan really well. I knew Dune okay. And the other company is Chaosium, who, again, lovely bunch of people, are Call of Cthulhu people, Pendragon. Pendragon is one of my loves, actually. And then when they announced that they got the license for Ben Aronovich's Rivers of London books to turn into a role-playing game, that was when I screwed up my courage and actually contacted the line editor, lovely Lynn Hardy of Chaosium, and said, please, could I be part of the writing team? Because I'd actually read all the books. I loved it. I got a gaming head on. So that was a beautiful overlap of what I like to read. And also, it wasn't intimidating. As a writer of games, they kind of expect you to know all of the canon. It's quite tricky sometimes. Ben Aronovich's thing at the time, there were 7 books and some comics, so that was doable. I could know it. Frank Herbert's Dune was a bit tricky because they've been churning out a few. Conan, I think they said, look, we're only going to be talking about Robert E. Howard's Conan. Oh, great. So I don't have to worry about
20 odd stories or something.
Those 20 stories. I don't have to worry about what Robert Jordan wrote or any of those.
God forbid.
Sprog de camp.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's just nice to have a bit of parameters about these things. I like playing in genre, and I like trying to recreate the feel of the original writer's work. In a game is a bit tricky because a game's a different beast
I was going to say, what are the particular challenges in that? And is it the same set of challenges, or is it different each time, just depending on what you're adapting?
Definitely different. So Conan is about, for me anyway, it's swords and sorcery, but there's no mysteries as such. So from a role-playing game, you've got to give them, in my opinion, Conan games should have some mystery, fear, the uncanny and the unknown, plus tough environments that maybe only Conan can get out of. That's the terrible thing, actually. Don't write a scenario that's perfectly suited to Conan, because your characters aren't Conan, and they will not have learnt to climb cliffs at the age of 3 whilst wearing full mail. Because I don't know if you ever read a ton of the Conan stories. He gets out because he can climb. He can climb and they can't, or he's the size of a gorilla.
Yeah.
Pantherish thews and all that.
Well, his pantherish views, his cat-like reflexes, the fact that he's wearing armour and he can run, and he can pull himself free from a crucifixion scenario.
That was one thing I always liked with a Conan character, was this idea of having done martial arts and stuff, especially as well, civilized fighting versus natural fighting.
Yes.
And I think in one of them, it is almost likened to like someone's given a broadsword to a tiger.
Yeah.
That, as opposed to everyone else who's lying there going, "I say, sir, how dare you?"
Just...
Yeah. Put up your dukes.
Yeah, and he just tears their arm off. So adapting stuff where there is one strong, uber-capable character for a role-playing game is a tricky one. James Bond will get out, but every one of James Bond's mates will probably die apart from the girl. See also Conan, see also John Constantine in Hellblazer. So you have to change the scenarios a bit, usually, because then you're not... often you're adapting games or literature, which is a solo character, and you've got to make it team-based. That's a challenge. Atmosphere is tricky in role-playing games. If you're reading a book or listening to the audio, watching a film, you can be immersed in it. It can be trickier to get immersed when you're sitting around a kitchen table and there's 6 of you. I mean, a lot of that is down to players and referees. But I like to write in little atmospheric passages for the ref to read out if they want to set the scene. And I'll admit a lot of that is me just trying to exercise my writing bug, trying to scratch that itch a little bit. And I would write. So I've written some stuff recently when I said, read this out to the players. Will it survive A, the editor, and B, the players and the keeper? You don't know. When you're a games writer, you're usually, not always, I am often part of a larger process. I'm not a solo writer. Right. I'm working for other people, and it's got to go through a number of processes. You're also writing for strangers. You're not writing for your mates who you know really well, where you can push the envelope and you know what they can take, and you can put in references that one of your players will catch, which is great, right? I love that. If you're writing commercially, you're writing for maybe 6 people of different ages in different countries who may or may not have read the source material. And those are challenges. And the other challenge is I've written quite a lot of detective, investigative games, and it's blimmin' hard. An investigative story is great. Making that into a game where there's that possibility the players don't go to the library, or very famously, those of you, I mean, you've played Call of Cthulhu, right? I know Rob, you often make, okay, the fail the read the library use roll, fail the spot hidden. Other game systems have taken that on board and fixed it, kind of. Pelgrane Press's Trail of Cthulhu and their gumshoe system. You'll get the minimum amount of clues to get you from A to B, so you won't get stuck in the graveyard not knowing where to go, or go to the library and turn around and go, well, we didn't find anything because we all rolled 78 instead of 3 on our percentage dice. You'll get the minimum to get you from A to B to C to D. You might not get all the information. You need to go there because something's happening, but you haven't realized that guy who's been helping you is actually the ancestor who's wearing the skin of his descendants, because you idiots. Not mentioning any particular Cthulhu campaigns, but yeah.
This is an issue, and we were looking at a detective game we were playing just a little while back, and the upshot is none of us is as smart as Sherlock Holmes.
None of you is as smart as Sherlock Holmes. And do you know what? So there's 2 ways around it. One, to the Pelgrane Press gumshoe system, you'll always get enough to get you to the next place. It's a little bit more of a paper chase, maybe a little bit more of an Indiana Jones thing, perhaps, rather than a work out who the murderer is, which is hard in a game for people who you don't know if they're going to get it or not. You can do multiple paths to the end, the smart guy path, the hit everyone until they tell you the answers path, which is one thing. But here's a sort of game setup that I think I'd like to run or come up with is nobody's Holmes, nobody's the Doctor. It's much more fun to be Lestrade, a Baker Street irregular, or another. Yeah. And it's a lot more fun to be a companion to the Doctor, because it's a really heavy ask in a game to ask someone to be the Doctor. What you should do is you get someone to be that as an NPC.
Yeah.
And they're leading the group a little bit. And I think that would be a great game to do. And they can go off and do clever things or tell you to do this, that, and the other, or come up with a revelation. And there's no... I mean, I've done it a few times. I tried to play. I think, we did our mutual friend CJ Hooper ran a Doctor Who game for us.
Nice.
And he asked us all who we wanted to do, and I said I want to be the second Doctor, the Patrick Troughton Doctor, which was fun because back in the day, the Doctors, they're not the godlike entities that they become later on, and he's just a nice, slightly timid fellow.
It was like your granddad, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, I mean, it's your nice Uncle Pat or grumpy Granddad Bill before him. Yeah. But, it was great. We could sit at the kitchen table and I'd just go, oh, dear, I think we should surrender now.
Giddy gobstoppers.
Right? I'm going to get out my recorder and look.
Oh, my giddy hand.
Yeah, exactly. And that was quite fun. So, I like playing with genre. I like inhabiting the genre, whether it's as a player or as a writer.
The investigations thing is, I mean, Tim, you've probably done more investigation stories than I have. So how do you set that up in the story as well? Is it unsolvable? Is it solvable? Does the reader have a chance to solve it before the detective does, kind of thing?
I tend to, basically how I do it is I know where it's going and I'll write it as opaque as possible to begin with. And so there's no real chance of the people getting it. And then when I go back through in the editing phase, I'll put in some nods and winks and clues and things like that. So that comes later.
Right.
I'll basically write it as a revelation to begin with, and then add all the, like, your Agatha Christie red herrings and things like that, and all that kind of stuff in the second draft phase.
Nice. That's really interesting.
We spoke about this with Paul Fricker when he was on about designing a scenario, because I think he just started writing some stories again. I think he was doing some stuff with Mike Mason on Substack, I think. Yeah,
they're doing short stories. They take turns reading out each other's tales. Yeah, Eldritch Tales, I think they're called.
Yeah, my question was, is writing a story the same as writing a scenario? And it kind of is and it isn't, I guess.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I mean, I've been writing some stories and I've been purposely making them not detective-y because I've ended up writing loads of game detective stuff, and it's differently hard. Arguably harder than writing a detective story as prose and fiction, because you're writing something that's like a computer program for 4 players or 6 players. So yeah, really interesting what you said, Tim, there is you make it more of your first run through is like an opaque mystery with a revelation, and then maybe you just inject. The other thing is you don't really know. All your readers are different, aren't they? I mean, what's screamingly obvious to one? I mean, I love Easter eggs, and because I'm a big fan of Kim Newman's writing, right?
Yes, so am I. Yeah.
Right. All of his stuff, but particularly Anno Dracula series. I love them so much. And I like the fact that you can enjoy it as a rollicking horror adventure romp in Victorian London with vampires, or World War One with vampires. Or you can also go, oh, that's Graf Orlok from Nosferatu. Or,
indeed.
Oh, that's Ken Allard, the Shadow. Oh, and I like that. As if you get it, that's great. And it gives you an extra tickle, particularly if it's a beloved character that in your hands has become a grotesque monster. And I like doing that with children's nods to children's beloved characters a lot, right? Yeah.
Wurzel Gummidge read recently. They're very nice.
Wurzel.
What could be more horrific than a vegetable-based homunculus created by the Crowman, right?
Yeah. I did the Madness in the Willows.
Oh.
Yeah. That needs a reissue at some point. That.
Oh, that sounds good. We're talking Wind in the Willows, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I got as far as doing a mock-up cover in sepia, which is the original Wind in the Willows cover, which I think is Ratty and Mole having a little lie down, having a nice picnic. And in the background, the original War of the Worlds war machine.
Oh, nice.
It's just because War of the Willows sounded great.
That was genius.
Because what would they do? How would they fight back? I mean, I imagine Toad would love to get his hands on a fighting machine.
Oh, yeah.
Poop, 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 poop. It's and the rest of them are hiding down underground, very much like David Essex does in the best version of War of the Worlds, the Jeff Wayne adaptation.
Beats the Tom Cruise one.
Oh, God.
Having said that, I always thought Piper at the Gates of Dawn was quite weird enough as it was, that chapter.
Oh, yeah.
It's so weird, so weird. Again, I've had these conversations with our mutual friend CJ, and he loves that bit. He loves the pastoralness of meeting Pan. I said, "What? It's just weird, and why is it there?" And you can cut it out, and I think it does sometimes.
It does get cut out quite a lot. Yeah.
Because it's odd. Sometimes I think writers put in something they're interested in because it's the only thing they're writing at the time. Right, and it's like, can you go? Yeah, I really like them to have a mystical experience with a pastoral god, and then we'll get back to the adventures of the otter being lost.
Maybe you've been reading Arthur Machen or something.
Well, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a bleed over, and I love this meets that anyway. So yeah, maybe he's just gone with it, and there should have been more of that.
Perhaps it's that undercurrent of anything. I mean, the weird stone of Risingaman and all that sort of stuff. There's always that undertone of Wicker Man kind of things going on in
folk horror-y thing. Yeah.
Think about any beloved anthropomorphic animal thing. How bloody weird is it? Because they have humans there. Rupert. There's a lot of bears in that village, but there are humans as well. Nobody says a thing about it.
The boy with the bear's head.
Right. I mean,
exactly.
these blasphemous hybrids. And one of my favourite authors is Alan Moore. And he did a fantastic take on all of the funny animals in one of his League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comics in the second series, when you discover that Dr. Moreau has been allowed to continue his work, and he's operating in Nutwood, and he's got this horrific polar bear, because he's white, right? In a yellow checked trousers and a ratty thing, and says, "You come with us," and it's horrific because Christ, it would be, wouldn't it? Right? Are we not men? Says Rupert. It's just oh,
that's great.
Which takes me back, funnily enough, to something I was talking about the other day. I don't know if you remember the film Oh Lucky Man with Malcolm McDowell. I think it was late 60s, maybe very early 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a scene where he is put into a secure hospital, or he breaks into this secure secret hospital. And long story short, he finds a guy in a bed, and you just see the guy's face, and the guy's shaking and sweating. And he goes, "Are you all right, mate?" And he pulls back the covers, and it's a pig's body. They put the man's head on. It's one of the most scary things I ever saw. And the character, Malcolm McDowell, just screams and literally jumps out through the window and runs across the moors,
Yeah.
There's something about that. Yes. I mean, and that's almost down to body horror. Body transformation is it's a thing that really gets me, to the extent that there's a few films I know about that I won't watch. I mean, The Fly, both of the Fly things were amazing. All of those, just anything where people get turned into trees is horrific. But I'll never watch. Is it Walrus, the Kevin Smith thing?
Oh, I like Tusk. I think it's Tusk, the one. Yeah.
I've got a book about the making of various films. I just showed you a few stills of man being forcibly surgically transformed. I mean, I think it's great. But it's kind of, dare I say, timeless body horror. We're all going to have that fear of invasion and mutation and unwanted change.
Oh yeah.
Unless that's your bag, I suppose. But yeah, there are certain of those things. I think they just go right to the heart of it. Certain Doctor Who episodes going all the way back to the Crinoids, even the slightly rubbish pigmen in New York in that TARDIS one. There's something about, I have become a monster, and if it's conveyed right, the horror when they're inside. It's just horrific. Love it.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the best ones of that was in the Ark in Space.
The
was
Wirren.
the Wirren, the grub thing, that he gets the parasite. He's slowly turning into the larval form of a Wirren.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's when they alter his voice with that ring modulation.
Oh.
And that freaked me out as a kid. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the bloke in the garden shed turning into a crinoid.
Yeah, into a crinoid. Yeah,
Any of those things about that era. There was the first K9 one when I know it's a really cheap effect.
Oh, the prawn. The giant prawn.
If you get bushy eyebrows,
you've been bushy eyebrows.
Literally, if you've got bushy eyebrows, because people were wearing big goggles. I'm going to have to rewatch them. If I can somehow edit them down to a watchable length, that would be awesome.
Class.
But yeah, all the body horror stuff, and there's a ton, and you get them in that golden era, the Baker, Tom Baker era of just horrific stuff. And there's something about transformation and the creeping transformation.
It was something that Philip Hinchcliffe and Robert Holmes, when they were in charge of it, the Hinchcliffe-Holmes era, all of it was basically gothic trappings and body horror. And that was the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like they'd read a few gothic things and they'd watched Quatermass Experiment, which is just like a golden example of all that. And I will watch that again and again, the movie version. Instantly, that guy, so thin, you see him crop up. The guy who's Victor Caroon, the infected astronaut in the Quatermass Experiment. You see him in various other movies. He never plays a healthy man because he was quite skinny. He's a bit like the chap who plays Mr. Barlow in the 70s Salem's Lot. You want someone with sunken cheeks, and that's half your makeup done.
I suppose your Pertwee Doctor Who was, as far as I can remember, it was always more sort of occult based. There seems to be a lot of demons and witches and that sort of thing going on.
Occult and ecological.
Yeah, again, that there's always overlaps with other things. Doomwatch is kind of Doctor Who without the Doctor. It's science gone mad. Yeah. What would you do if you didn't have the Doctor? We're reduced to these three slightly preposterous civil servants. But yeah, the magic stuff. And I think there's like a little subset of Who, isn't there? Whether it's Azal and the demons, Stones of Blood, all that stuff.
A lot of that comes from the producer, Barry Letts, because he was heavily into Buddhism and all sorts of other kind of spiritual things.
Right. So like Planet of the Spiders.
Planet of the Spiders is a great example. Yeah, that was
with Rick Campo Rinpoche. Right.
Yeah. So a lot of that comes from Barry Letts.
Yes.
And a lot of the political stuff and the ecological stuff, that comes from Terrence Dicks, the script editor.
Right. Yes. Yes,
because he that's why you got a lot of stuff about like the joining the common market and the thing with Peladon and all that.
Yes, absolutely.
And miners' strikes and all that. That's why you got them sort of political bits in there. And then you have the sort of more spiritual and occult stuff coming from the producer. That's why that happened.
It's great to hear about that after the fact, and at the time I just remember, I like Agador. He's scary.
Yeah, Agador. I like Alpha Centauri, the giant squeaky caterpillar.
I think like a lot of, this is kind of talking to our era and our generation. Doctor Who didn't get repeated much. They might have done the 5 faces of the Doctor in the 80s. And so my knowledge of Doctor Who was the ones I saw at the time, End of Pertwee onto Tom Baker, Target books, the Doctor Who monster book, which was a lovely big thing with a Chris Achilleos artwork, and the Weetabix packet Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know what Alpha Centauri was in. I knew that what Alpha Centauri looked like, which was some green multi-armed sex toy with a big eye. But and who were the Gelgards, and who was Omega. And they were little cutout figures out of, God, I ate a lot of Weetabix because you didn't know which ones you were going to get. Got through a lot of Weetabix just to try and get Sarah Jane or the Doctor, I think. And just go, I don't want any more Vogans. Please don't give me any more Vogans.
Do they still do that? I don't know. Do you get that now in Syria? I don't know.
No.
I mean, I generally do the shopping. I don't see that sort of stuff in cereal boxes anymore.
I suspect not.
Used to have cut-out masks on the back or a plastic Thunderbirds figure or something.
Yeah, there was loads. I remember Rice Krispies for a while did folklore monsters, which is bizarre if you think about it. And they were like rubbery. Must have been 80s, like things from like a Finoddery from Irish Legend, or a Knuckleavy, the weird sort of man horse thing. And someone just decided, you know what the kids want? They want, apologies to folklorists, but slightly obscure folkloric chimera in their Rice Krispies packets. And so, fair enough.
It does seem an odd combination, doesn't it?
And yeah, I did buy them, so something must have worked on me.
Is it? I don't know. Is that what spawned? Have you got a love of collecting? You mentioned comics and that sort of thing. You like boxes of comics, and
is it a love or is it a condition? I'm not sure.
It's a curse and a blessing.
It is very much so. Much like that. Much like the mantle of Spider-Man. It is a blessing and a curse. Yeah. Collector. I have to keep it reined in, but I've got thousands of Marvel comics at home and DC comics. I was a reader of 2000 AD, but my brother was the one who got it, so I would read that. I got a collector's bent, and sometimes I'll collect a load of stuff, and then once I finish the collection, I realise actually it wasn't that great, but I had to get all 12 issues or something. Big fan of I tell you what, I like a limited series, because the good thing about a limited series is you won't be collecting it forever. So limited series comics,
you tend to get a conclusion as well, kind of thing.
Nothing like a conclusion is great. There's a few comic writers who, to their credit, wrote a limited run on a comic and they said, right, that's it, I'm done, we're not going to go back. Somewhat notoriously now Neil Gaiman on Sandman, but other comic runs, it's great, I don't have to get all the other comics ever. I can it's not like Spider-Man, and I love Spider-Man, but if you're buying Spider-Man, you're buying Spider-Man forever, and probably 4 different Spider-Mans. But there was a 90s series called Starman, and it was just like 70 issues by James Robinson, absolutely great. And I know I'm done. Kieran Gillen, who's done a load of good stuff, he'll do a run and then he's done, he won't go back to it. And both my storage capabilities and my pocket are grateful for that as a way of managing collectomania. I mean, you'll still see me leafing through the back issue boxes at the Innsmouth Festival, no doubt, looking for an old Conan or maybe a House of Hammer magazine.
Oh, I sold all mine. I sold all my House of Hammers. I had a time of extreme pecuniary depletion and just had to sell a couple of boxes. It all went to a good place. He was a collector and etc. etc.
You made someone happy,
right? Yeah.
But those old House of Hammers, especially, that was a wrench.
I can imagine. Yeah. There's some great stuff there. Again, if you're a kid, you might have heard of a film. You might not be allowed to see it. But you can pick the magazine up. Mum and Dad haven't got a clue. I'm talking about 70s, 80s. What are you reading there? Oh, it's just a thing about films. And I'm reading like the graphic depiction of the Quatermass experiment.
Oh, yeah.
The creature looks much better in the comic than, obviously, a much bigger budget in that sense, right? You can see this. It's basically a Shoggoth is the thing, He looks great.
And I remember they did the reptile you mentioned earlier, and obviously all the Drac.
Yeah. I love all that stuff. There was a backup strip called Father Shandor, which is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Which was the sort of the weird semi-official spin-off of the monk priest character from like the third Dracula film, and he gets mixed up with demons. And amazing artwork as well. And he's kind of like cast out by the church, and they still draw him like he was in the film, which is of a portly bearded, middle-aged Andrew Keir.
Nice,
but that's great. Fantastic. He wasn't exactly Captain Kronos, but that was fine. He did his thing.
So, Mr. Lovecraft, would you say you had a favourite Lovecraft story, and has he been a particular influence on you?
Yeah, definitely an influence. We had no idea. I say we, my brother Morgan and I, very similar in age. We had no idea about Lovecraft, except that we would see articles in White Wolf magazine for role players about a game called Call of, and it had a funny Welsh word, whatever that.
It's quite Welsh, isn't it?
Right. Skipped past that adventure because it appeared to be about people in the 1920s, and we were just there for D&D. But then my brother picked up one of the third volume of the classic 1980s Harper Voyager collections of the omnibus Lovecraft ones. Was it Haunter of the Dark?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Whopping third one. The one where I didn't really look too close, but there was some fat thing eating people, and I think in retrospect I thought it looked a little bit like. Do you remember Weird Science?
Oh God, yeah.
Do you remember there's a bit in Weird Science when Bill Paxton's character gets turned into like a kind of a lump?
Yes.
A big
protoplasmic shock.
Turdy lump.
Yeah.
And I thought, I know, ultimately it's not that, and it's from Pickman's model or something. But yeah, it did look a lot like Kip or Chip. So we read that, and we took turns reading it. And I think it was at that time when, if you found a spooky book, you would lend it to friends, in the same way that James Herbert books and Stephen King's they almost get lent around at school. So we came to Lovecraft via that third omnibus, Haunt of the Dark, and my favourite story in that is The Thing on the Doorstep.
Yeah.
I think it's a great story. I think what's nice about it is that there are layers to it that aren't in others. There are, you think you know what's going on, but this is going on. Oh, you think that's the secret? Well, actually, it's not person X, it's actually person Y. If anyone's not read it, read it. So I loved that. I loved the concept, that the spookiness of A Thing on the Doorstep. But what really sealed the deal, and again, I brought a prop for us. I don't know if you can see this.
Yes,
nice.
Yes, David Healy. Yeah.
Have you got it? No, it's 1991 audio cassette. They did. It was a 2-cassette collection: Tales of Fear and the Unknown. The other one was The Lurking Fear, but I got The Thing on the Doorstep by H.P. Lovecraft, read by the American actor David Healy.
Yes.
And I would listen to it at night with my not Sony Walkman, my Philips Walk Person. Didn't have enough money for a Sony.
I had a Philips Walk Person as well.
Philips Walk Person
with the bright yet orange foam things on the headphones, right?
Weren't they? They were quite garish. And those headphones would cut into my ears. Cheap.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely did some damage. Absolutely. So I put, this was my rite of passage. You put on The Thing on the Doorstep at night in bed. And it's David Healy is one of those American actors that's got that delivery like Orson Welles, American actor called William Hootkins. He was sort of American actor in Britain. He plays Munson at the beginning of Flash Gordon, a heavy-set man with great delivery. David Healy was one of those guys. And they start the tape, the story, with a little bit of guitar. It's almost like Spanish guitar. And he starts with that great line. There's a great intro to Thing on the Doorstep, which is, what is it? It is true that I have put 6 bullets into the head of my best friend, but I hope to show you through this account that I am not mad. Which I think is short story gold. Absolute
Fantastic.
Gold. Absolute gold. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favourite. There's been a few good adaptations. There's a 3-issue comic adaptation by Small Comic Publishing, which I picked up at the Glasgow Worldcon last year. I'll send you a link to it if you want to put it in the notes. Heartily recommend it. What they do is they expand the role of the narrator and into more of a living, breathing human being who's got a wife and a kid, and it's quite. You get a little bit more wraparound of what his life is like, his relationship with this younger man who is the central protagonist, victim, antagonist, Edward Derby.
Indeed,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and a little bit more about his relationship and his wife and stuff. It's actually a rather good adaptation. Sticks to the era, which I rather like. So yeah, that's my go-to. My go-to Lovecraft is Thing on the Doorstep. Love it.
I would say Lovecraft's been pretty well served in graphic adaptations in comics.
Especially of recent years, there's been a whole glut of them.
There's been quite a few collections.
Yeah, I thoroughly recommend Providence, if none of you have ever read that. That's the Alan Moore 12-issue one. Yeah, absolutely awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's almost, it's a great story. It's got a great ending, which totally goes up to 11 in terms of where the story was going. A fantastic fool protagonist, He's a guy who's a very involved, very self-involved writer. Though I don't know how, you know, always strikes a little close to home when you're reading those things. But you read it going, you idiot, and it's quite funny. It's quite a black comedy in places because he does not realise who he's just met, and the fact that all these boggle-eyed people are there and he doesn't have a clue. But it's also almost academic, not academic, scholarly, because he picks up every single Lovecraftian reference in Providence, and he weaves it into real life stuff like Lovecraft's life, Lord Dunsany's life. Because I'm that sort of person, I sat down one weekend and I did a flow chart, a plot conspiracy map.
Oh, like a proper conspiracy board.
Yeah, of Alan Moore's Providence, because there are so many characters and so many books, and I've got this. I did it on a computer piece of software, printed it off and presented it to the Wizard of Northampton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I've had a few chats with him about it. He's got an amazing mind, and he's my go-to non-Lovecraft cosmic horror person, I suppose. Nothing like Alan Moore. He will have all of those touchstones I mentioned. He'll have transformation. There's some horrific transformations that you get in Providence. He'll have everything you know is wrong, and he'll certainly have, guess what? The world has now changed beyond all recognition. He does it in stuff like Miracle Man, Marvel Man, and none more so than in Providence. By the end of it, we foolish humans, through our love of plush Cthulhu toys, have literally dreamt Cthulhu into being. Foolish humans.
I mean, could happen.
So, yeah.
Could happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here I am literally talking about making it happen. So I'm as much to blame as everyone else. So.
Well, wasn't it Alan Moore who said that about V for Vendetta? You know, it wasn't a blueprint. And
right.
Yes.
Look where we're going now.
Yeah, very much so. Some people take the wrong lesson, don't they?
Yes, don't they just?
V for Farage.
F for something.
Yeah. F for Frogman with a mallet.
So, just in closing, then you've covered, or you've worked on, quite an incredible range of, I suppose, genres. Shall we call them?
Yeah.
Is there anything you haven't done that you'd love to do, or any particular mashups that you think would just, yes, that's.
Yeah. I'm sort of indulging my love of mashing things up, particularly pop culture stuff that I grew up with, taking. As in a very broad sense, I've done did a short story that I shared with you, Rob, called On the Farm, which is in essence Wurzel Gummidge meets all those public information for safety films about how you can die horribly on the farm. I'm just working on a load of little short stories at the moment. They're partly to scratch the itch of being my own writer for once, because it's great collaborating with people on games, but you're not your own boss. You don't get to sort of like have complete freedom to play with the world you want and the story you want. So that's quite nice. I'm still kind of working my. I feel like I'm more of a trainee, trying to get those muscles of just get up and start writing it. Stop trying to. Don't agonize about the ending. So I'm getting a bit freer with that at the moment, and I'm writing a story at the moment. It's called Common People. It's set in the early 80s in West London, where something big is hovering over London, as in the popular fiction TV miniseries of the early 80s that I referenced also was hovering over Los Angeles.
Nice.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, in my world, and it's a bit Kim Newman-y, what if certain beloved children's television characters that inhabited parts of West London interacted? Yeah, I don't tell anyone that.
I think I know where you're going with that. That's great.
As you say, if you get it, Tim, the title of the story is a little clue. How would that work out? And there are going to be little references for V for Vendetta, but instead of a V everywhere, it's going to be a W.
Oh, brilliant.
Right. So I'm loving writing it. I'm absolutely loving writing it because I'm writing for myself, and I'm writing about the stuff that I know about. And if anybody else, if one or two other people get tickled by it, then I'll consider that job well done. So
absolutely brilliant.
With the title Common People, I think for the audio books, you've got to get William Shatner to do it as well.
Oh, yes. Yes, because of his cover, his pulp cover, yeah.
Okay, well, I hear Mr. Sergeant is pulling up in the big yellow bus outside. It's time for us to depart. But of course, as ever, Helena, as a guest, gets to spend the night in Innsmouth and enjoy all its delights. I'm not sure if the breakfast is particularly delightful. I think there's probably pilchards involved.
Is it? Well, they said I should sign up for the full Innsmouth. That's what they called it.
Oh, I'll never go full Innsmouth.
I'm going for the full Innsmouth with all the trimmings tomorrow. Looking forward. That's going to be. Apparently, it's a culinary experience. I'm looking forward to it.
Pilchards, jellied eels, the works. Yeah.
all the fruits of the sea are mine.
Indeed.
The fruit de la
mer.
Lovecraft had it right, didn't he? I was recently watching a documentary about undersea stuff, and they've just discovered a new, not a new life form, but it's like a community of things.
Yes.
I think they've gone very deep, haven't they? And they were saying, yes.
It was almost like bioluminescent. It looked like a sort of live coral or something. I'm not sure what it was.
Tube worms, and there's two words that shouldn't go together. It's tube and worm.
That's the Innsmouth lunch, not the breakfast. So you'll be all right.
Oh yeah. Well,
Tube worms on toast.
My favourite recent discovered sea creature, it was a few years ago now. They found it in volcanic vents, the squid worm. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's a worm with tentacles.
That sounds like it should be the title of a Guy N. Smith novel.
Doesn't it?
Absolutely.
The Sussex Squidworm. I write in the Sussex.
I'm noting that one. That's a keeper.
That's happening.
That's awesome.
It's a pleasure to talk to you, Helena. Thanks very much for coming in. If people want to get in touch or find out about your work, where's the best place for them to track you down?
Seek me out on Old Person's social media, unless I get thrown out, and I shall reappear as Helena Innsmouth.
There you go. I've started a trend.
Yeah, quite so.
I'll be Timothy Innsmouth.
Join us. Join us. Otherwise, you may well see me running around at the Innsmouth Literary Festival, which I'll be delighted to chat to anyone who I see there.
Excellent. Okay, folks, so off we go. Thanks very much for joining us today. What have we got coming up next time, sir, on our next visit?
Next visit, we're going to be delving once again, even after we said it was only going to be like 2 episodes when we first started. This is going to be our 8th delve into Lovecraft's sonnet cycle, Fungi from Yuggoth.
Yeah, I think we're almost halfway through now, aren't we?
We are exactly halfway through.
Well, it has proved very interesting and a very rich field to delve into as well, isn't it? So,
and all the things that have spun off it, because like the Lamp of Alhazred and the book and all that, we've ended up having to read like August Derleth stories and things like that in follow-up episodes. So yeah.
I know for a fact next time we're going to be talking about the Sarthogia sculpture that Smith sent to Lovecraft that graced his mantelpiece for quite some time. Nice little back and forward between the two of them.
Indeed.
Brilliant. So I hope you can join us for that. As always, great thanks to all our patrons. If you'd like to join them in supporting the show, check out our Patreon site. You'll get bonus content for the Innsmouth Book Club and Strange Shadows, quarterly copies of Innsmouth News, and of course, free entry to the Innsmouth Literary Festival. We hope to see you there. And on that note, it's goodbye from me, Rob Whiten.
And it's goodbye from me, Tim Mendes.